Good morning, YouTube. It is somewhere around 10 a.m. in the great state of Texas, and we're doing Lego minifigures today. Bonus episode. So, we are going to start doing Lego projects on this channel. We typically do woodworking here. We do a little bit of metal work, but we're doing Lego minifigs today in epoxy resin. I've done some projects like this before in the past, but it's 2022, January, and we are going to start doing different things on the channel. Because the great thing about having a small channel like ours, we're still growing, and I can decide whatever it's going to be. And we're going to build stuff, and I love Legos, and it's something I want to get into, so I thought, what better way than to give you a bonus episode in 2022 in January, just as a prelude to what we're going to do in the future. And what did we get today in our little package of minifigs? We got a Green Lantern little minifigure. And big fan of comic book movies. Wasn't a big fan of the Green Lantern movie a couple of years back. But hey, we're going to get this done. This is woodworking. We're going to put this little guy in epoxy. And we're just going to make a little minifig desk ornament out of him. So it's important to take the seal off of the JB Weld before you try to use it. And obviously we had a little bit of issue there. So we got our little guy assembled here. We're just going to use a little bit of JB Weld to get him attached to our little block of resin before we pour the resin on them. But it's important also to, I've done Lego minifigures in the past. If you go back and watch some other projects that I've done with minifigs, before I figured this out, stuff likes to float in resin. So you really got to attach everything using a little bit of epoxy to their little hands because they're going to float. You also have to put epoxy on their heads and torso because they will float up in the cup. So got him in a little bit of a cup here. I believe this is 8 ounces or something like that. Yeah, it's an 8-ounce cup. We got him on our little block of epoxy, and we're basically just going to cover him in epoxy, and then we're going to put him in the pressure pot for 4.5 hours. Everything's attached. Everything is good to go. All we got to do is add the epoxy now. So here we go. So we got our little Green Lantern guy. Now we're just filling this up using East Coast resin. I actually did 2 Lego minifigs at the same time. So there was a little bit of a concern with the epoxy pour. I probably didn't get a good mixture when I initially did this, and you'll see that a little bit later when it comes out of the actual pressure pot itself. So 8 ounces of resin, pressure pot 4.5 hours, and you can see a little bit of bubbling in there. This actually took me about 2 weeks to get done in between projects, but here we are. Good casting though overall. You can't even tell that he's floating on a piece of epoxy that we had set up initially, but overall, the casting went okay. A lot of bubbles in there, so not ideal. Again, user error as far as mixing the epoxy itself. But we got the overall aesthetic that we were looking for. So we're just going to go ahead, not going to take this guy out of the actual mold itself because it's completely melted in adhesive. So unfortunately, we got to put this on the lathe, and we got to take the chisels and get that superficial cup off of the actual epoxy itself. So you're going to see here in a little bit, I'm going to get slapped with a piece of plastic. It's going about, I think we're running about 4,000 RPM, something like that. I want to say that's accurate. So boom, I got immediately slapped. You'll see it right there. Like, horrible. But I was like, okay, we just got to get this piece of epoxy plastic off of this guy. So I went back and forth between the actual bowl gouge and then came back and was starting to hit it with the round carbide tool, and we're just trying to get that cup layer off of it, because what ends up happening is I don't use mold release. I don't know why I don't do it. I've been doing epoxy projects for almost 3 years now, and I still am not using mold release, and I really need to do that. So came back, decided that maybe the square carbide tool was a little bit better, and you can see there we're getting pieces of plastic off along with the epoxy. And my biggest concern at this point is just getting that plastic off of the actual mold itself. And I'm, debating what to do exactly, because I was really concerned because my hand really hurt after I got slapped. So here I am trying to pick off all that epoxy that was on there. And it overall went pretty well as far as getting the plastic off. It was just that initial shock. It's been a while since I've done a Lego minifig, so I kind of forgot my ways. So essentially all we're going to do once we get that superficial layer off is just going to make a nice cylinder, get that, nice base layer of where we want to go. And then we got to get everything nice and even, because eventually we got to round this into the chuck. So we got to make a bit of a tannin so we can attach it and flip it. And you'll see that's what we're doing here. Once I got that portion, now we're just going to flip it on the chuck, make a nice base layer, get that portion off of it. And that bottom portion of the cup just came right off. So getting good ribbons, like the mixture of the epoxy didn't set up the way I wanted it to with all the bubbling, but you can see by the ribbons that we're getting and the shavings, overall we had a good epoxy pour. So once we get the tannin, or is it tannin or mortise? Tenon. Once we get that built, then we just flip that over, and now we can start the actual process of getting everything shaped down the way we want to. And again, beautiful ribbons. You can see them coming off of the lathe there, off of the chisels. Everything's nice and sharp. So now we're just going for that nice round dome look to it. And overall, really happy the way this little guy turned out. We've done these little Easter eggs before in the past, but these aren't too popular on my channel, but I love to build them because they're fun little ornaments to make. And maybe a little bit later in the future, if there is enough interest, I might actually start giving them away. Again, like I was saying, we're going to start building Lego projects on the channel. Not Lego projects that I design, but cool stuff that I want to build, because now that I have access to adult money, the sky's the limit is concerning Legos, and my first project is going to be something awesome. So be looking for that in the next couple of months or so. I don't know exactly when I'm going to get to putting that video out. So once we got the dome shape the way we wanted it to, now all we're doing is sanding 340 all the way up to 1500, and then we're going to hit it with a micro mesh. And I could have done a little bit better with the sanding for the overall aesthetic, but again, I haven't done these in a little bit. We're going to come back, polish it up, and overall, really happy the way this turned out. Again, like I said, so just a little bit of a bonus episode. I'm going to actually be at work when this comes out later. So hope you guys enjoyed today's project. Again, we're going to do Lego projects on the channel. Don't worry, we're still going to do woodworking and epoxy. The great thing about having a small channel is you can build it to whatever you want it to be. And I love building stuff, and I love Legos. And I just thought that would be a fun project to start getting into. So here we are, just going to make... essentially just trying to get that tenon off of the actual main piece of epoxy itself. Came back, hit it with a micro chisels, having a little bit of an issue, obviously. Back and forth. But overall, we're going to get this done. You know how we do on this channel. We always show a failure, and not everything always goes 100% the way you want it to. But overall, really happy the way this turned out. Just had to take my time. I'm going to come back and hit it with a handsaw here in a little bit, and then we'll be done. And I hope you guys liked it. Again, be looking out for the Lego projects. So once we got all of this finished, we're going to take the handsaw and get this off. I'm eventually going to get there. I don't know. I'm trying to rush because I'm doing this the morning of the actual day I'm putting this out. So I'm sorry for the commentary. It's a little wacky. So yeah, there we go. Okay, now we're done. Okay, so project is done. Here is our little Lego guy. This is the Green Lantern. Sorry, I had a brain fart there for a minute. Not my best Lego guide I've ever done. You guys have seen me do some other of these on other projects before. But overall, pretty happy. We didn't use a wood base on this one. Could have done better with the epoxy. I'm sure I went over that in the commentary about how the mixing, the temperature, and all that stuff probably had a big effect on it. So anyway, good little guy. Hope you liked the project. By the way, we're doing Lego projects on the channel now, so if you like Lego, hey, we're doing that. So, hope you liked it. Hope you got something out of it. Nearly killed myself on the lathe there, as you saw toward the end. But overall, really happy with how it turned out. So, I'll see you guys in the next project. Don't forget to subscribe. All right, peace. Also, today is January 6th of 2022. Hold on. Okay, January 7th of 2022. You guys are probably watching this in the summer. It's freezing here, by the way. I just wanted to say that. All right, that's all I got. All right, I'll see you guys in the next project. Peace.